Hi, this is Maria Mandarino, and thank you for being here with me today. Today, we're going to be talking about Enneagram Type 5. But before we begin, I'd like to remind you to like the video, subscribe to the channel so you'll get updates. Remember to comment at the end and share your thoughts on the video in Type 5. And share the video as well. All these things will help the algorithm for the channel and help me reach more people. So I would appreciate if you would do that. As well, I just want to mention that if you're interested in exploring the Enneagram and doing a deeper dive, if you know your Enneagram type, I am available to work with people online in spiritual direction, where we use the Enneagram to explore the personality and how your Enneagram type affects all your relationships, including your relationship with yourself. If you're not sure of your Enneagram type, I do offer professional typing interviews. So I will drop all that information in the show notes at the end, but just know that I am available for that work. So today, again, we're going to talk about Enneagram Type 5, located in the head center, along with Type 6 and Type 7. We've already talked about Type 7. We'll have Type 6 coming up in the near future. So Type 5 is called the observer, also called the investigator. Some lesser known descriptions for Type 5 is the wise person or the perceptive or intuitive person. Type 5 puts a high priority on knowledge and information. They'll also put a high priority on privacy and solitude and time. So reason being, Type 5s process information more slowly than the other types. So time for them is huge. Solitude for them is huge. They're not just running off to separate from others. They really need that time to almost mentally breathe, if that makes any sense, right? To just sort out all the jumble that's in their head. Again, their head type, so everything, the whole life happens in here for them. So the focus of Type 5, they're scanners. They're always scanning and assessing circumstances, situations. They're the deep thinkers. They live in the realm of the mind. They will separate themselves from emotions. They're very linear in their thinking. They're very logical, probably a better word than linear, but more logic than emotion is what you're going to get out of a 5, more of a rationale. And they're very self-controlled. Okay. So the motivation of the 5 is to protect their energy in order to avoid feeling drained. When too many demands are put on a 5, demands of their time, demands for information, for interaction, it has the effect of draining a Type 5. So for the other types, often that's almost going to seem unreasonable, and it's going to make the 5 especially, and I'll talk about this a little more shortly, but it's going to make the unhealthy 5 look like a difficult person because they just can't handle the experience of, as they experience it, being drained emotionally, energetically, having their time intruded upon. And they can appear idiosyncratic and aloof as a result, because they really they do have a need to have that buffer of time around them. So the higher expressions of Type 5, we'll start there. These are self-sufficient people. They are, it's especially noteworthy to say they're highly effective in a crisis. They're highly calm in a crisis. When other people are falling apart, you can count on the 5 to be level-headed. The healthy 5. And often what will happen after that is, from the extreme overload of being able to handle an extreme situation, they really need a lot of decompression time after a crisis to just process out that crisis, because they are not feeling during the crisis, and that's what allows them to be calm in the crisis. In their higher expressions, they have incredible minds. They're capable of great depth, with one caveat. And that's, it has to be a subject that they find interesting. Okay. So if they love art history, they're probably not going to want to talk about accounting or vice versa. Okay. So incredible minds capable of great deep thought, but it has to be on a subject that they're interested in. They're also capable, again, we call them the observer, so they're capable of great neutrality. They can kind of hold all in their healthy state. They can listen to two sides of a story and consider both of them equally. That's one of the gifts of a healthy five. They can hold all points of view. They can see what other people miss. So if you come to a five with your struggles, or a couple of people come to a five with their struggles, they'll point out the things that you're not catching. They might have that missing link. It's often that you'll get that out of a five. They'll a healthy five. They'll help you see the missing link in what you're struggling with. They are curious people. They are independent. They are perceptive and intuitive. Not the only intuitive type in the Enneagram, but one of the most intuitive types. And that's because of the time that they take and the way they step back and the way they hold everything. They allow themselves to see, and they can kind of see more than what other people see. So more intuitive. Healthy five is wise and insightful. They're the people you go to for those moments of wisdom that you don't get from a lot of other people. You can count on your fives to bring that, your healthy fives anyway. They are the visionaries on the Enneagram. And one of the really unique things about five is because they value privacy. And that's like one of the worst things you could do is betray a confidence for a five. They, as a result, will take your secret to the grave because they put such a high priority on privacy that if you share something with them, it's like giving them a diamond. They value it, and they will not reveal what you've shared with them. So the lower unhealthy expressions of type 5, they hoard, especially information and time. They're going to hoard the things that they value most, right? So so information is also currency, I would say, to a 5. It's a form of power. So if they're unhealthy, they're not going to give that to you. They're gonna hold that apart for themselves. So hoarding information and time, especially. It's not the only things 5 can hoard, but the most common. 5s focus on boundaries. I think they focus on boundaries no matter what. 5s have really good boundaries, but an unhealthy 5 has extreme boundaries. They're not going to budge. And that unwillingness to budge, that dedication to their boundaries, what's under that is fear. And it's a fear of being invaded, of people wanting more from them than they have to give. And that's energetic. Having people require more of their energy than they think they have. They actually have more energy than they believe they have also. That's important to note. So an unhealthy 5 thinks they don't have the energy, and you might want their energy. And so they're just going to double down, and you're not going to get any of it. So hard boundaries, and they'll just kind of wall themselves off from the people around them if they're stressed out. So as a result, they can also, they're pretty much the recluses on the Enneagram, probably the most reclusive type when they're stressed out. The most cut off from their emotions. 5s don't do emotions. Okay, if you look at the Enneagram chart, 5s don't have direct and easy access to the heart energy. So they're really locked up in their heads. So cut off from emotions, again, on the high side, that's what makes them great in a crisis. On the low side, it's going to make them shut you out because they're not doing emotions. They're not getting messy. They're logical people, and they don't do emotions when they're in that unhealthy state. They will withdraw when they're unhealthy. They'll be viewed as standoffish or snobbish by other people. When they look back on a life, they realize that living in the low side of their type has made them lonely, because people don't stick around for it. When they're shut out, people might stick around for a little while. They might try again, but they don't try too often. So unhealthy fives can find that over a lifetime they're lonely. They can be construed as eccentric. As I said, people will see them as aloof. They can walk away and cut people out. And what's important to note is they will do that without a discussion. They will do, like, you won't even know something happened. You won't know you upset them. There's no indication. There's no conversation. There's no discussion. There's no outburst. There'll never be an outburst. They'll just go away, or they'll just shut you out and you're gone. When they're in their low expression, you can count on a 5 to be cynical or sarcastic. So if you have someone in your life that you're kind of getting that kind of behavior from, you might kind of consider they might be a 5. I mean, 5s are certainly not the only type to be sarcastic or cynical. Depends on their reasons. But yeah, that's an indication of a 5 that's coming from the low side of type. They're just seeing, so they see all, right, but they're stuck on seeing the negative. And they can see it. I mean, it's there, but they're missing out on seeing all. And that's the difference between the healthy 5. The healthy 5 will see all. The unhealthy 5s, they just lock into the cynicism, and the sarcasm follows that. Because they are, their focus is on getting information. They're often connected to technology and their phones. So the 5s are the ones that are going to be doing more doom scrolling than other types. So again, the unhealthy 5, doom scrolling is part of their behavior. As far as the thing that type 5 fears more than death, there's 2 answers I'm going to give you to that one. One is being put on the spot and being thought to be the expert, but not knowing the answer. That's pretty scary to a 5, because information is the be-all and end-all for them. That is where their power comes from. That's where they feel safe, hiding behind information and knowledge. Again, they see that as their power. And being put on the spot, being the expert, and not having the correct answer is pretty devastating. The other thing that is pretty overwhelming to them is an intrusion on either their time or their perceived energetic resources. Okay, so overload and intrusion can just shut them down. Kind of freak them out. So I would put both of them on the same level as the thing that type 5 would fear more than death: being intruded, invaded, or being put on the spot, being the expert and not having the information. The somatics of the 5, so they're a head type, and they are really locked in their head, I think more actually than the other 2 head types. And because of that, they pull in, they just withdraw their energy internally, and they kind of live in their own little world, and most of it happens up here. But then it also comes into the gut, and not on the neuromuscular level, more actually the gut, the organs of the gut. Things affect them deeply. I mean, stress affects all of us on a physiological level, but yeah, the 5s, it's just like this internal pulling into the gut that happens, and there's a fear that's associated with it, and so we have the fight or flight response to stress, and then there's also the freeze response, and that's the thing that can really lock the 5 down. They'll just freeze. They get stuck. They can't go forward. They can't go backward. They can't do anything. They're locked. And that's part of what happens with the withdrawal. Okay. So that's the somatic picture of the 5. It's all about fear, pulling within, and the only thing that they know they have, the only resource that they have is what's in here. It's like they don't even know they have anything else. So very internal. So if you lead with type 5, if you think you may lead with type 5, here's some advice. So type 5s are the boundary keepers, and boundaries are not bad things. They're actually good things. Extreme boundaries are things that you want to kind of have an awareness around. So if you lead with 5, if you think you do, and you need a boundary, it's okay. Where it becomes a challenge for the type 5 is when we don't express it, because type 5 has more of a need for that boundary than the other types. So the other types aren't plugged into what you need. So just let somebody know, I need a little space right now. I just need something big just happened. There was a big conversation that just happened, maybe something on the news that just, headline, and something that just hit you at a deep personal level. Just express to somebody, I need 15 minutes. I need a half hour, whatever, put a finite time on it. And then here's the really good thing about type 5s. They will honor their word on that. If they put a finite time on the boundary that they need, even if you come home from work and everybody needs something right now, or they need to share their day with you right now, everybody's got a right now issue going on. Type 5s don't do your right now really well, especially if they're feeling stressed. Okay. So if you're a 5, let somebody know that. I can't right now. I love you. I really want to hear your story. I really want to help you. But right now, I need 15 minutes, and I'm going to circle back with you, and we're going to pick up right here. And like I said, 5s will honor that because they honor and value time. And when somebody honors that for them, they reciprocate. It's just a normal thing for a 5 to do. If someone approaches you and they want an answer, or they need information, or maybe you're doing some 5s don't multitask real well, by the way. So if you're overloaded, you're finding that you're trying to multitask, and somebody needs something like now, and they want an answer immediately, and you don't have it. I don't know right now, but I promise you I will get that answer to you in 15 minutes, half hour, tomorrow morning, whatever it is, And again, 5s honor their word on their time limits. So, make sure you do, but I know if you're a 5, you will. So just express that, just communicate that to people. So, I say that 5s, they kind of live on tape delay in some ways, when it comes to information, and a lot of information coming through, especially social situations. When 5s have been, in a crowd of people, that's a lot of information coming at them. And after any kind of social gathering, you can count on a 5 to need some decompression time, to process out what they even think about because they weren't really there in real time. I mean, their body was, but their mind was just moving so fast that a lot of times 5s will also have a delayed, like when they were in the conversation, there was something that they could have said that they didn't even realize when they were in the conversation, but they get home and they're like, oh darn, I should have said that. So they kind of have this delayed experience when it comes to being in social situations, especially. All right. So, so if you know this about yourself, if you know you're a type 5 and the type 5 way of being, let the people in your life know, I just got back from a 4-hour event. My brain is oatmeal right now. I just need a few minutes, so don't be afraid to let people know how you process, and instead don't shut them out. Tell them you need that time. So some good advice, if you have someone that leads with 5 in your life, and you're not a 5 and you want to know how to support them, how to engage them, how to be in relationship with them, right? Because 5s can be difficult if you don't understand what they need, right? So don't crowd or overwhelm them. Give them their space, especially if they have been, as I said, in a situation of overwhelm, a social situation, high energy situation, a lot of people around them, a lot of conversations, a lot of incoming information. Don't crowd them after that. Just give them a little bit of space. And maybe even tell them, I know you probably need some time right now, so I'm going to give you an hour or 2 hours or whatever, talk to you tomorrow, whatever. So give them that downtime, let them know that you acknowledge and honor that they need that downtime and that decompression time, and don't take it personally. Know that it's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do with their ability to handle a lot of incoming information, and get their sorted out in their head. Ask type 5s what they're interested in. Get to know their interests, because it'll look like one of 2 things. If you have a 5 in your life and you assume they're a recluse because they don't talk about anything, well, you'll see how much talking a type 5 can do the minute you ask them about something they're interested in. And they can become some of the greatest conversationalists you'll ever meet. So don't be afraid to ask the type 5s in your life what they're interested in, or just have conversations about the things that they love. And when they do go away, understand that it's for the short haul and that it's not personal, that they can't do the sorting in their heads without some quiet time. And the best way to show a 5 that you love them is to just give them that and let them know you're giving that, because then they know they're seen and they're understood. So there is pretty much a quick view of Enneagram Type 5, the observer. If you lead with 5, if you think you do, or you know someone who leads with 5, please share in the comments what you think about the episode, or your experience around being a 5, or having a 5 in your life. Again, next episode, we're going to talk about type 6, the last of the head types. In the meantime, take care. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment on the channel. And do reach out if you want to know more about the professional typing experience. If you want to book a session with me, I do offer a quick, a free 15-minute to just kind of discuss what's involved in the typing experience. So again, that link will be in the show notes. If you're interested in doing deeper work with me, and you're Enneagram type, or you just want to do spiritual direction with me, I am available to do that online as well. So again, all that will be there in the show notes for you. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.